must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Viewers, good morning. This morning I want to address the issue of Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. The legacy of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya keeps on moving, keeps on going forward and forward. Since the handshake in 2018 that brought about the peace, the tranquility, the unity of purpose, President Uhuru's star has been rising. All over Africa, people are thinking of using the model that Kenya used to stop any form of violence, chaos on the streets after elections. As you know, all of you are aware that elections in Africa produce two things: after or before or after the voting. Disputed elections, winner takes it all, loser doesn't accept the results. But the Kenyan model takes us miles and miles away from the normal type of democracy. The democracy, a negotiated format, a consensus format. A democracy that gives consensus a chance. A democracy that talks about the future of a country, the unity of a country, as opposed to a fragmented country, polarized country, where most African countries find themselves in. We have seen in the last 10 years or so, most of the elections in Africa have been contested by the opposition. Very few people in Africa, countries in Africa, where opposition has conceded defeat and come up to congratulate the winner. We have seen the South African model has worked very well. The Ghanaian model has worked so well. I don't see any other country in Africa where the models have worked well. I thought it would be Sierra Leone, but today we see Sierra Leone going back to the same ethnic tensions, as you can see from the reports that are circulating in the international media and the local media. So elections in Africa are contentious issues. They create a contentious position, create a departing point for the people of Africa, of that particular nation. The legacy of Uhuru Kenyatta, therefore, will be remembered for having brought the tranquility that we have today, the peace, the new format, the new tool of having a better organized civil Africa, an Africa without violence, an Africa without chaos after elections, when the opposition accepts to work for the interests of a nation, not personal interests. This has worked in Kenya, and thank you very much, Your Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, for the tenacity and the steadfastness that you have guided this handshake up to today. For those who want to mutilate the handshake, belittle the handshake. One lesson they should learn is to look at Libya. Libya was once a territory we all respected. It is no more. Let's keep the handshake and the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Thank you.
I really thought I could not live away from the busy city, away from the lifestyle, the coffee shops, and the excitement of the city. Once I was at Pana Ranch Nevasha, I felt like all the constant pressure had instantly gone away, and the adventure was about to begin. The grass is always greener, the air sweeter, the views unimaginable, and the experiences unforgettable. It's like a dream driving down, seeing the beautiful lake and just feeling that breathtaking ambience. Feels like an amazing escape from all the pressure, a never-ending vacation. Pana Ranch Nevasha offers a perfect country living home, each on an acre, with elegant house designs, with a blend of fine wood and well-curved stone to fuse with nature. Pana Ranch captured my imagination in ways I never thought possible for a home. The birds high up in the trees and that spectacular skyline. I saw the freedom that was caged and the future that could start now. Pana Ranch Nevasha, a gated community powered by Premier Realty Limited. This land was made for you. Let's explore.
fellow Africans, since 1957, when Ghana gained independence, there has been quite a lot of political, social, economic indicators on the African continent that show that Africa has progressed from pre-independence Africa to post-independence Africa.
Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. From now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs.
66 years down the road, Africa finds itself with the first country, Ghana, having gained independence. We find ourselves still locked up, controlled, manipulated, instructed, logistically supplied, equipped by foreign powers that dictate our agenda. Africa is endowed with plenty of minerals, resources, good weather. The climate is so favorable for the growth of food enough to sustain us. But we find ourselves in countries where hunger is killing people. Hunger is killing people because most of the people have taken to arms to fight wars, conflicts. Starvation has taken the place of development. In most African countries like Sudan, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Nigeria, in Biafra, and north of Nigeria there is Boko Haram, Somalia in the Horn of East Africa. We have taken to conflict instead of development. Development was the key indicator. When Kwame Nkrumah made the first speech that seek ye African political unity, economic development will come automatically, he was right. The events happening in Libya today vindicates Nkrumah, vindicates Nyerere, Sekou Toure, and Nasser, the founding fathers of our Pan-Africanism. The events happening in Central African Republic, in Congo today, as the war of rebels ranges on between the rebel and the rebels and the government and the rebels, vindicates the founding fathers of this revolution. Our independence, therefore, was only on paper. Our independence, therefore, was only in symbols. Our independence also was in signs. Our independence also was in boundaries. That we received our flags, but we never received full independence as by the word independence. Most of the 3/4 of African countries, French-speaking countries, have their budgets being done in Paris. Is that independence? The Paris government or the French government does its budgets based on how much they will get from African countries. Is that independence? Is this the Africa that you want? Is it the Africa that we must look at? Is it the Africa that we shall leave for the future generation? If the answer to you is yes, then so be it. But if the answer is no, you agree with me that this is not the Africa we want to live for the future generation. Our generations and the future generation need to find a legacy. What is the legacy that Africa and African Union will leave for the future generation? The wars ranging in Libya, in South Sudan, in Khartoum, in Mogadishu, in DRC Congo, in Ambazonia, in Cameroon, Boko Haram, Mali, in Mauritania, the uprisings in Algeria, all point to one thing, that yes, we are not yet independent. We are still controlled by external forces. Thank you.
Diplomatic ties were established between our countries. That was respectively on the 17th and 18th December. And I believe that our meeting is going to give an additional impetus to strengthening our relationship. Of course, our priority is the development of trade and economic ties, as well as ensuring a stable increase in our trade. In 2018, we saw an increase in the indicators. It was an increase of 1.2%. I refer to our bilateral trade. And we are very glad that some companies have managed to establish a solid position in the Kenyan market, and I do hope that we'll talk about that in detail today. Thank you.
Russia-Africa Economic Forum and Summit, I believe, will present not just Russia and Kenya, but Russia and Africa, with significant opportunities to really reshape and expand our relations, both at the bilateral level, as I said, the multilateral level, but also to rekindle, in your own words, the historic relations between Russia and Africa. Indeed, again, as you have stated, Africa's aspirations for freedom and liberty was greatly enriched by the relationship with Russia. Our founding fathers, including my own father, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, drew great vision from the Soviet Union, and for that, we remain grateful. Your Excellency, to preserve this history and heritage, indeed, one of the requests I'm going to put to you is we would like you to facilitate a coalition and retrieval of some of the information and material that may be here in Russia relating to the activities and the histories of Kenya's freedom fighters, including that of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. This is something that we would truly appreciate, and at some stage would like to send some of our officials to work with your own historians and archivists to see what we can do to put that history together and preserve it for posterity. Mr. President, I also believe that this forum you have organized offers, again, Russia and Africa the opportunity to focus on ways and means of expanding our political, economic, technical, cultural, and educational interests in a manner that serves both our countries and promotes Russia's partnership with the African Union.
In the fight against corruption, it has been demonstrated throughout the world that unless you sustain the war, and it is a war, remember that there are individuals, not only in Nigeria, but throughout the world, who suckle from the breasts of corruption. And they are not just about to win themselves off the suckling. They must be forced out of it, and they'll fight back. Because there are individuals, even in government, in all sectors of government, who now take their children to school on the basis of money corruptly acquired. They live in houses that are corruptly acquired. They do everything on the basis of things that are acquired through corruption. So when you want to stop it, they are going to kill you. They are going to ensure that you are neutralized. These are the people that you are fighting against, because these are individuals whose conscience is dead. And they are going to do anything on earth to prevent you. In fact, when one chooses to fight corruption, one must remember that he or she can't be eliminated at all times. And what President Buhari, and indeed any other president in the world, must do is to recruit the population. If the population has been wedded to the idea that corruption is a bad thing, then that is the beginning of the success of that battle. When I see, for example, your former Minister for Petroleum being investigated in the United Kingdom without being a sadist, I'm very happy. Because if you look at the wealth that he is alleged to have accumulated, that is unexplained wealth. Even if he lived for she lived for 1,000 years, she would never make that kind of money. James Ibori, who was prosecuted, convicted, and served sentence in the United Kingdom. What lacks in Africa is punishment. Impunity is alive and well in Africa. And we, the electorate, as I say, times without number, are in the business of celebrating thieves. We must stop. Yesterday, Barrister Farana said it very well, that we camouflage theft by giving them nice English names: money laundering, fraud, embezzlement, and all those veneers that make them look as if it is some kind of nice game. Let us call these men and women by the right name. They are thieves, stealing on an industrial scale. They are murderers. And once we begin to call them like that, and they have a mark of Cain upon their forehead, and we shun them, has it been done in African countries? Yes, it has been done. And I keep on repeating, in countries such as Tanzania, they are being dealt with. In Rwanda, they are being dealt with. In Mauritius, they are being dealt with. In Botswana, they are being dealt with. Once you begin to deal with them, then the others who may want to behave like them will begin to take the cue. We must, in the nature of things, earn what we earn through the sweat of our brow. That is the only way in which Africa will realize their potential. Many of these individuals who are in positions of leadership in Africa don't want to leave because they are thieves. And they are scared. They are scared that if they left office, they would be prosecuted. And my view is that they should be prosecuted. You know, individuals such as Hissène Habré, who we know what he did, was it in Chad, are a good example to the leadership that impunity will not thrive. Because I've been talking to a friend of mine from the Cameroons who tells me what is happening in their country right now. And other African countries are blind to it. It doesn't even occupy the headlines of the neighboring newspapers, of the country's neighbors' newspapers. Yet the Cameroon now should be in the same position as we see the conflict in Catalan in Spain. Yet we are attacking it in page 13 in newspapers in Nigeria, in Lyberia, and other countries. The time has come that Africa must learn and realize that the world is not bothered about Africa. The world is only bothered about Africa when they want to take the resources of Africa. Then they bother. They want oil, they bother. And I'm using the word bother in a very deliberate fashion, not in the traditional orthodox fashion. They bother when they want to take our timber. They bother when they want to take our bauxite, when they want to take our coke, when they want to take our uranium. But they don't bother about us. They come to our continent without disrespecting the elephant, and they want to preserve the elephant so that they can come and watch the elephant, but they don't care if 100 Africans die. They want to preserve our monkeys. They want to preserve our leopards and our other animals, but they don't care about us. To them, Africa is a zoo of sorts. And until the day that we Africans realize that we are on our own, we are going nowhere. And very soon they are going to shut us out, if they have not shut us out already. We'll not go to the United States of America, we'll not go to Europe, and I'm happy that we are being forced to stay in Africa. Let us stay in Africa and build Africa. I mean, what does Africa lack in terms of resources? What do we lack? If it is solar energy, which continent is capable of producing solar energy to light this continent and the entire earth? If it is hydroelectricity, what can we not generate? If it is minerals, if we wanted to make bombs, if we should, where do they get their uranium from? If it is timber, what don't we have? If it is human resources, we are 2 billion of us. And we are people who have intelligence. And yet we are kept in a constant state of conflict. The Europeans, the French persuading their former colonies that they are more French than they are Yoruba. They are more French than they are Wolofs and Mandinkas. The British persuading us that we are more British than we are Ibibio or Yoruba. And of course, when we find ourselves in that schizophrenic state, then we engage in internal conflict and they sell their arms to us. Tell me, which African country makes guns? None. I think Africans must recognize that bad governance is harmful to their very well-being, not only for the current generation, but generations yet to be born. This is a continent that has always had potential. These are a people that have always had potential. But since we regained our independence from the colonialists, African leaders in many countries have consistently demonstrated that they are not working in the interest of their people. And that is sad, because many of the individuals who occupied positions of leadership are still beholden to the colonial masters. We see former French colonized nations, leaders who are beholden to Paris, those who are colonized by Portugal, beholden to Lisbon, those who are colonized by Belgium, beholden to Brussels, those colonized by the United Kingdom, beholden to London, and the single country that was colonized by Spain, Equatorial Guinea, beholden to Madrid. And this is tragic. Of course, currently, many African leaders are getting beholden to Beijing and progressively the United States of America in Washington. The net effect is that the African agenda is being sacrificed to the detriment of the peoples. And we have examples which are live as I speak. The problems in the Cameroon, the problems in Togo, the problems in South Sudan, the problem in Central African Republic, in Mali, in Mauritania. And these are sad things. And the tragic thing is that the African Union appears to be helpless in this situation. Africa has been victimized by systems of government which we do not understand and which are not serving us well. And the time is now to wake up and to begin.
A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. It is another edition of a Good Morning Africa show, coming to you all the way from the Kenya's capital in Nairobi. Thank you so much for watching. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're tuned in today. Together with me on the show is my co-host and, of course, the founder of Punchline Africa Television, none other than Dr. David Matanga.
Thank you very much, viewers. Welcome to this bright good morning, together with South Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation, live from Berlin studios and Bermuda, down in Cameroon. Thank you very much. This is a Pan-African station, the only station in Africa that speaks it as it is. It puts it on table. It is up to you to take what we speak, reject some, like President Uhuru Kenyatta said, wait. The BBI is on the way. Read it, reject, accept, but don't quarrel. No fight. No vuvuzela. Is it called what? You are the one going to do it, because that word is beginning to harass me. Thank you very much, Miriam. And I want to thank all of you who have listened to us for the last 4 years. We have been on in existence. We have been Follow our link, and I think the technical guy of social media, can you send us the link immediately so that people can follow us right now? We would like to have that link as, it is already here with us. Thank you very much. Follow the link if you are on one of our followers. We are here right now in Nairobi. The weather is fantastic. Tomorrow is a D-Day. The counting has ended. Speculations will end. The report will be with the President of the Republic of Kenya. And after that, on Wednesday, in Bomas of Kenya, many people will sit down to start interrogating it, to see the views, national, what it is. Then it goes to mashinani. Let people read. Let people see where the hatred, where is the hatred? Accrued hatred, like accrued rent arrears. From 1992, Kenya has experienced electoral violence. 1992, I was in London already. In 1987, I received very many Kenyan refugees who came to Uganda Community Relief Association, whom I helped to resettle in the United Kingdom, because they had run away from most of the areas of the Rift Valley, being supplanted out of their homes. Do we need this? No. Kenya does not need that anymore. 2007, we saw a sporadic outburst of a violence. Do we need it? No. Kenya must change. What makes Kenyans hate each other is the electoral injustices, malpractices, system. Let's talk about it. If you don't correct now, and you are in a hurry to be in leadership in 2022, correct now, then you can have your leadership. You rule this country, milere na milere. You rule it, people will love you. If you don't remove corruption today, if you don't find extra means of how you can govern, if you find ministers like the Minister of Agriculture, who doesn't even know agriculture policy, but you have appointed him, he's not even accountable to the parliament. Don't you think there's a need to change? Ministers should be accountable to the parliament. Ministers should be MPs. I've never seen a country where MPs are detached. In America, because it has a social structure, cabinet secretaries are detached. They can make their decisions without, but then the Congress calls them later. But we are developing democracy. Should be with our minister within the party, within the MPs, within the villages. So that when the minister drives back home in Meru, in Siaya, in Ugenya, in Turkana, in Elengoye Marakwet, in West Pokot, what a contradiction in West Pokot. Too much drought, a lot of dry land, the rain comes to take part of. What a contradiction.
It's flooding.
So that the minister can understand what problems people go through in Elengoye Marakwet. This current CS operate like a mini kings and queens. That is not a very good constitution for Kenya. No. It's only people who have not read constitutionalism or who looked through the window of schools that can say it is very good. No, it's not. I like the article. Take it on, Miriam. There's an article by one lawyer.
Yes.
I've always not liked him.
He's actually a constitutional expert.
I've never liked him because he associates himself too much to evil society. But today, for the first time, my editor, I accept. There's something you have written very good. And you mentioned his name. I don't know how to mention him.
His name is Yashpal Gai.
Yashpal Gai.
Yes.
I accept you today on that basis only. But the way you have associated yourself with civil society, that go to collect George Soros' money is what made me this tense. But for this article, this is one of the eye-opener. And that's what I'm saying. Look at Africa. The entire Africa, including my bad place where people tell me to go. Every time, go back to Uganda. Go back to Uganda. It has a prime minister. It has a prime minister. Tanzania has a prime minister. Congo has a prime minister. Sudan has a prime minister. Egypt, look at it. To listen to the burden from the presidency. Allow this man to run. The American style of operation has brought chaos in Nigeria. Look at the Nigeria falling to pieces. Look at Buhari tall 6.1 feet, but 0 down here. Downstairs, 0. The country is breaking to pieces. No prime minister, nobody to run activities. You are seated in Abuja. You are supposed to run to China to beg money. You are supposed to run to Russia, Sochi, to eat Sochi. You are supposed to earn. Look at that. Look at that. Africans. South Africa. You have seen the way they have structured their sort of, all the regions have prime ministership, premier. The premier of Hatang, the premier Kakap, the premier beef. You see that? There is something structured to remove the pressure. The stitch by sign is now. Remove the pressure from the presidency. Because the presidency, if you have presidency in Africa today without prime ministership, you create rivalry. This deputy thinks he would be doing better according to his wife. If he sleeps very badly on this angle and the wife says, oh, husband, we have a problem, the deputy will come to oppose you. I give you examples. Malawi. Where are we? We are on the streets in Malawi. We are demonstrating in Malawi because the deputy president in Malawi wanted to take over from Mutharika. They have destroyed Malawi. Let's change Africans. Walai ya Mungu. Change. This change, prime ministership stabilizes the governance. American style of leadership, we don't have a social contract in Africa. We are only creating corruption. I swear in the name of God. We don't have the social structures to accommodate presidential format of governance. If you have one, go to the moon and bring it. Where you don't have people who will follow. If we had a prime minister running Mr. Maraga, yes, the prime minister telling Mr. Maraga, we have 250 cases that have guzzled almost half of Kenya's debt could be paid. You are not doing it. There will be power. The president will be going out to do foreign policy, other things, meet African leaders, go to AU, select. You see Museveni in Uganda, however much people try to bring him down, he has some tendencies of, not tendencies, he read one book only called Fenon Fancy. That's it. There are people here who even support him when they don't know him. Like the deputy president here supports him all the time. You better know that he read one book only. And his thesis in Dar es Salaam University was very clear. Very clear. that it is only violence and the violence alone that was violence is instilled in the people's minds. You rule them. Over to you, Miriam.
And I think that is one of the leading, when you look at these dictators, that is what they use, to stay in power for a very long time. The presidents or the leaders across the world we've seen that have held on to power for a long time. I think that is the theory they use. That is the mantra actually they use. Violence and violence only. Yes.
Anybody out there who knows what Fenoni funds is? Matanga knows it by the head. It's here. If you look at my president's theory thesis at Dar es Salaam University, people don't people, when you are going to struggle with a giant, you must first look at how he has positioned his teeth and his legs. Don't go for the body because the giant is so big. First explain where these traits came from. Straight anthropological. I'm using good words here. Anthropological traits. So even in Uganda, we have a prime minister. Why President Museveni and our constitution allowed the prime minister is to release that daily running of ministers. A whip, a man who will run around to whip people to come. And the younger men who are shouting on social media, oh, we don't want this, we don't want, please go back to school again. And look at comparative politics. Let's do comparative politics. The simplest subject that I can show you that American style cannot work in Kenya because there is no social worker who will understand whether children are going to school or not. There is no who are those people who are supposed to chunga bail, what are they called? The people who look after bail conditions when the court sends you on bail. Is there anybody in Kenya today who can tell me where all the people the court gave bail, where are they? Does Itumbi report every Tuesday? He was told to report. He might have signed and gone. Are people of NYS reporting? Do we have a system that checks when Maraga and his group, however bad he is, he sends the people out? Are there people, court officers, who visit the police station to find out whether you are signing the thing or not? No. So how can a presidential system work here?
Yes, indeed. And, according to this article that Dr. Matsanga just referred to earlier on the Star newspaper, page 5, I'll read just part of it, what Mr. Yash Paul Guy, who was part of the people who really, helped in formulating the Kenya 2010 Constitution. So I'll just read part of it. And he says that, in fact, there are 2 amendments which I want to make. Those were in the original Bomas draft, but were taken out by retired President Mwai Kibaki. The first was the parliamentary system in which a prime minister shows up in parliament, just like the British system. It was removed by Kibaki after being passed at Bomas. The second was devolution, and I wanted the country to be divided into 18 units. That was also taken away by Kibaki and his allies, and they instead introduced a devolution system with 47 counties. And I call them 47 mini-gods. The governors that we have, they're demigods.
No, don't call them that good name.
Demigods.
Call them political warlords.
And
have you seen the warlord in Nairobi?
They're acting like demigods.
Have you seen the warlord in Nairobi? Yesterday, people were exchanging views about Nairobi. I laughed. Why? I love Sonko as a friend. As a friend, social friend, when you meet him, he can do anything for you. But when I defend him, I am one of the few people who defended him, that education is not the answer. You can have education from the brain of your mother and your father. It doesn't mean you have degrees and PhDs, then you can lead in Nairobi. There I disagreed with those who thought, but now I am embarrassed. When you see this scenario, it's warlordism, politics of warlordism. And if Kenya is not there, if Kenyans are not if Kenyans apana chunga, this warlordism can grow up into a very dangerous situation. Each governor will tell us that don't come to my territory. Can you explain to me why governors are holding money and it is on their account? They are using it for other purposes, for banks.
Money meant for development.
Yes, to pay contractors. Contractors have finished their jobs. That's why the Minister of Finance, Kutan, what is his name? I don't want to pronounce it wrongly. Akutani or Kutani?
Yes, Yatani. Yatani.
Yetani. Mr. Yetani has said, my friend, if you don't pay those contractors, you will not receive more money. Because why do you take more money? And this money has been recurrent. Do you know there are some governors who have been returning money to the
government?
Why do you return money when there are people you could utilize? That explains why people don't have money today. Because the local suppliers to the counties are not paid. And these are the men who make our villages. You see, have you ever drank a beer in the village at about 7 o'clock? With the chicken going home, and you are drinking a beer, you have gone over the weekend, you have got that radio like the radio I have, which I've had for 32 years. That is Sony. I bought it a very long time. It can pick I can pick any station in the world. I don't need it to adjust. Some people buy stupid radios. I have one Sony, which I bought it can, when you are seated in the village somewhere in Nyamira, you listen to the news coming, BBC Focus on Africa, you drink a beer very nicely. Those are the people serving the county, but the county has no money. So these local shops, these local supermarkets are drying up because the suppliers have not been paid. It's one of the problems that you see. The money, the nearer to the city, visibility of money is seen. You see, visibility of the money is seen here. If you are in Kiambu, you spend where? Where do you spend? Nairobi. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if Kiambu itself is holding money for people who would be coming to Intercon and buy us tea, you think Bazungu are very rich? No. Bazungu are not rich because there are systems in Bazungu. If you remove sausage, if you remove beef from the American shops for 2 months, they will riot and remove Trump. Americans like meat, beef. Everywhere they talk beef. Have you seen Americans are huge, tall? Some of them are 6.6 feet tall. If you remove that beef from the glass windows, and many people in towns walk and they say, the meat is not there. Madam, hello, is there any meat? Is there any problem? That's how Bazungu weigh their lives. Then they go back, they said, this Labour government is very bad. These Democrats are not very good. Republicans, this time, no. They removed our meat. Why? There is hunger. There could be hunger in America. But because the structures are there, you can see the meat. And after window shopping, the stomach is full. You go back home. You know why? Where you go? If you have not eaten, you go to the library. You are over 60 years in Britain, you are not supposed to work. You are supposed to go to the library every morning, relax. You have heating allowance. Heating allowance, which now you keep that allowance and go to the library where is heated already. And then you go to Wembley and see the match for free. The bus outside there, the bus, not matatu where people kanyaga hata the old man of 90, wanamukanyaga, wanapanda juu yake kuingia kwa gari. The story tuko na mbaya sana. We have very bad behavior. And I hope BBI touched this word, patriotism and the behavior, mindset of Kenyans. They don't allow Miriam, 90 years old, or the mother of Miriam, or the grandmother, to enter the bus. Push kamama, push him, her, or him. Anaingia bus. Then he sits inside, looking at the woman he pushed. He's inside the seat. This is the behavior we have in Africa. Unless we change it, there's zero. Unless we change that type of thinking, Miriam, we shall oppose everything. Now you see, read the headline of the Star.
All right, the Star newspaper this morning, and this headline, Doctor, I just wondered what is really going on, as what we were talking about yesterday about the confusion that we've been seeing in the political, the scenario in Kenya. And here the Star says, Ruto ready for the Prime Minister job. That is according to his allies.
He's now told them to say.
I'm confused.
No, this is told them to say, not according to them. Because he has seen what we call coup de sac. What is it called? Coup de sac. Ukuta iko mbele. Where the rubber meets the road. Tomorrow. Sindio report itakuwa kwa mikono yake. He will be among those people receiving it.
He will be among the people
who
receive the report. Yes, he's the vice president of the country.
He's our boss. He's our boss. Acknowledge that. We can disagree. And let him not take disagreement as hatred. This guy is a very good orator. He can win. But let him take disagreement as a matter of building him. Not to get annoyed with people permanently. Unatukata utatukua wewe Mungu. You can't take people out. Tomorrow you receive the report. Have you seen the coup de sac? Have you seen the wall? So testing there tomorrow. You are either with the president or you go on the road. The rubber, in political science, is called the rubber meets the road. And you know when the rubber meets the road, repose.
All right, and because what is very interesting to the people who are opposing this BBI, there seems to be coming from, I can't even say the whole of Jubilee Party, because Jubilee Party is a national party with all different ethnical backgrounds in the party. But even within that, even within the Tanga group, there are people from different communities who are feeling no. I think perhaps this the referendum and changing the way we govern might help us. We might from Northeastern, we might benefit from Pokot.
Exactly.
We might benefit.
Exactly.
So why is it that it's just a click of? I don't want to sound very ethnical, but I see it how the dynamics has been.
Of vuvuzela politics. Call it vuvuzela politics. Politics here, vuvuzela. We are in the market. Tomorrow we are here. Tunenua, inua cast, inua hapa. Tanga uko, embrace here. This is vuvuzela. Stop the politics of vuvuzela. Unite the country. If elders cannot say it today, who is going to say it? Kenyans are fearing to say it. This country needs unity. That's why the president has said, please, in 2.5 years left, let me leave something. The legacy.
So, Doctor, just this headline that I just read, then beneath that headline of Ruto ready for PM job, allies say that, but also just below that, Tanga members of parliament tell Uhuru they will reject BBI if it changes executive structure. So what is what? This is the point where I get confused as a Kenyan. One side you are supporting and you want to be a prime minister. The other point you're like, I'm rejecting this report. So
that's why I called it vuvuzela politics. And ultrasound. You're a woman. You know what ultrasound systems are. There are people doing ultrasound politics on Kenyans. They go and listen to the womb. What is the child's name?
Without even knowing the sex of the child.
No. That's the ultrasound politics that has killed most of African countries. And the group of ultrasound politics is well known. And tomorrow they meet the road. Yeah, you are either in or you are out. It's very simple. You not continue to flex your muscles when the BBI train, gravy train goes. You either go with the travel grain or you just go, the rubber is burnt. Burning rubber is tomorrow. Yeah, you stick it, you'll have the report, then read and decide. Because that is all. This is for the betterment of this country. And nobody is forcing the report to be read.
No, we just want it to go public.
The president says...
We can debate, we can have a healthy debate.
This name calling is what I
We can all have a healthy debate after the report has been released to the public. Now we can talk about the content that we see, not the speculations.
Thank you very much, Miriam. There you are, Yashpal.
Yashpal guy.
You take my...
Yes.
You take my hand. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for the introduction. There is no country in Africa today, apart from which one? I can't see. Zimbabwe, it is having a turmoil because of presidential system. You know, if there was a prime minister system, the Zimbabwe, this Kasimoro boy from Zimbabwe, that is more of lunatic, called Chamisa, would be a small prime minister, learning how you can filing cabinets. You know, there are some people who don't know how filing cabinet works. The colonial man brought filing cabinet, but you don't know. You could fail the interview if you have filed wrongly. So Chamisa would have got a post like that one of a prime minister and settle there and allow Munyakagwa to go around to look for money to rebuild the economy of Zimbabwe, which they took a presidential system. They didn't know why Britain has a parliamentary system. Now for me, I tell you people, look, Kenyans, look very carefully. Why is Britain, a superpower, still has a parliamentary system? Why? It is faster to check on excesses of injustice, very quick to check on corruption. Prime Minister is tasked. If hospitals are not working well, people will call for election quickly. That type of format.
And also what you mentioned earlier about the members of parliament being ministers. I think we used to have that before the 2010 constitution. You feel it should come back. The ministers to be appointed from the lot in parliament as members of parliament. That worked very well because we could see the minister sessions in parliament and they were there to answer and participate in some of these debates in parliament. But as it has been, the CSS seems to be detached from parliament and the reality and the laws that governs even the different ministries that they are responsible for. So do you believe that like you mentioned earlier that that should be returned back, that was taken away from the other constitution we had earlier?
I think you know what? If you have a CS who doesn't know how much food you have in your country. I give one example of Kienjuri. If you call Kienjuri for an interview now, that Kienjuri, he doesn't know how many bags we have. He's gonna stand up in front of the camera. No. Even the English, I don't know whether it is the tongue has a problem, but I think the brain has a problem. To be very honest, the man doesn't know. He has let out to President Uhuru Kenyatta kabisa, and I'm let down kabisa, at yeye naye anataka kukua a leader. What are you creating Idi Amin? Who could not know the difference between a tongue and the meat of an animal? The age has gone. People have gone. Schools have opened. Even schools that you learn from the virtual schools. Are there no virtual schools now? You are in Nairobi, but you are learning in London. Go back to school, Mr. Kiunjuri. I'm proud because this year, and in February, I am graduating with another master's degree in project management from Roehampton University. Congratulations. I worked hard. I write my pieces. I deliver. They are marking them now. Mark the boy. I'm here. I'm gonna hold it. So I'm encouraging my children that, Dad, this is what he tried. Second masters. Hakuna kucheza. Virtual schools have opened. Then you have a minister who cannot speak English. What is it for? We who cannot even write a policy. Speak it, and then the Mzungu said the accent is not very good like mine. That's okay. But even when you don't even know anything, what type of life is this? Where did I get this guy? Alitoka wapi huyo? So there you are. And I hope by the time we go to that school, Chatham House for that, don't forget you have already been invited.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've accepted.
Yes. By the time you go to Chatham House for my presentation on American failed policy on Africa, it will be hot, the hottest so far. To begin the year with heat and snow. Those who are inside the room will just be melting.
There will be heat and snow.
Yes, Americans here will come to listen to the speech. That's very good. That's how powerful from next year some of us are going to be. We don't want to discuss Farami Jov to do what. But we have done it. Yes, we have done it. Because when you stay, maybe so many people even want to walk over you. They want to make you their children. No. So, some of these things, Kenyans take them lightly. But they are very important. Help the president to unite this country.
Yes, indeed. And speaking about the politics of vuvuzela here in Kenya, it was a very busy weekend as usual, and the political elite were running across the country, and they made very interesting comments. So while speaking in Siaya, Senator James Orengo also was very busy in Siaya there. Yes, and he warned that the BBI would not only block Ruto from ascending to power 2022, but also finish him politically. He claimed that by opposing the BBI, Ruto has written his political obituary, and Wasingishu Women Representative Gladys Sholei termed the BBI report illegal, stating that there are only two ways to change the constitution, through parliament or popular initiative. So when she said popular initiative, Doctor, does referendum count for a popular initiative? I think it should.
You see, Madam, with due respect, there are certain people, I told you here, that there are people who went to school like Gladys Sholei, but Gladys Sholei did not study law. Gladys Sholei studied maritime law. You know, for me, when I come for you, I've known what you are. This lady, even to get this job of a registrar of the High Court, I don't know who gave her. Because she's an expert in maritime law. She's not an expert in constitutional law. Popular initiative springs from heaven and arrives on earth, isn't it? President has powers under the presidential invocation process. The president can invoke a presidential power in this country and say, I have seen all the schools are sinking. I want all the schools removed from the sinking plateau and relocated. It's a presidential, he doesn't need parliament. I have seen people fighting I want this fight to stop. I therefore invoke, he's not touching the main constitution. He invoke presidential powers. They are allowed instead of Kenya going into the drain. So what Gladys Sholay is saying is parroting to the master who has lost direction.
But as I said...
Have you got that? I wanted people to hear that.
Yes.
I respected her so much, but this one, we have parted ways. I respected the husband. He's my friend. And when we meet in Kempinski or whatever, we say hi. But on this one, she never went to school. She studied maritime law. Let the thing come out tomorrow. Nobody is saying it is... Okay. It is a report to be discussed by Kenyans.
It has not been adopted yet.
No.
Do you think that is where they missed the point?
So they have missed the point.
It has not been enacted in our...
That's why I've called it vuvuzela politics plus ultrasound politics. Ya kusikiliza tumbo kama iko mtoto gani, ujue hata mtoto. Unasikia, I've seen my wife has got some bupu. This is the type of politics taking place here. Ultrasound politics of listening. People have become gynecologists. Listening to people's tumbos. Is the BBI looking like this? Or do we have a long nose like a Matanga's big nose and a big fat, big stomach or what? That's what they are doing. And I'm shocked that even lawyers who have gone to school, like Mrs. Sholay, is saying it's unconstitutional. In which format? And they have to say this to it. Do you think Mrs. Sholay can say he does not agree with Ruto?
But also
you think she can say she doesn't? She won't see the seat tomorrow.
But also the alternatives here that she mentions, which is through Parliament, one, and popular initiative. Referendum is a popular initiative.
Yes, but what is going to come...
Assuming that is what the BBC
Parliament does not direct. An idea can come from the people.
People will sign to allow a referendum.
Now,
it's a process.
Why
it's
was
a popular initiative?
People signed. People, there are so many ways.
The other one, yes.
The Constitution of Republic of Kenya did not describe which route you take to arrive to Eldoret. You can go through Maseno and come back to Eldoret. You can fly to Lodwa and come to Eldoret. You can actually fly past Eldoret to Bungoma and come back to Eldoret. So for Sholay, let me give an example why she's wrong completely. The situation here is this. A parliament, she's used to this parliament directing the president. But she has forgotten there is a clause that also the president can do an invocation order, presidential order, invoke it, and say, I put a commission of inquiry, let them collect the views and take them to the people. Let me say, surely wait in parliament. This thing is coming. It's coming back to her. She can now use her veto to reject. That is another way of going to Maseno or Kisumu, then you come to Eldoret. There's a direct way of driving, hammering the road through Nakuru up to Eldoret. That is the road she knows only. Because I don't think she has a plane. But there's a plane now again going through to Eldoret. You fly and jump there direct. So she's fixed on that mind the way she flies home.
And also, like Laikipia Women Representative Catherine Waruguru asked those pushing for the adoption of the report to seek the support of Kenyans through consensus. I don't know if she sort of gave a way on how this consensus.
But this was her name, CA.
But I thought
let's go slowly. What is the level of education with some people? This was her name, CA. Please. Can we proceed? We stop. This is an MC who elevated himself through Jubilee Party and the popularity of Uhuru Kenyatta. He landed a seat in Lyberia. First, she had the beauty. She sold herself through beauty. I can't envy her over that. But when it comes to reasoning, she's not.
She's not.
So you leave sleeping dogs lie.
But this consensus she's talking about, the BBI was seeking for opinions. Why didn't she not go there and give her opinion? I don't recall. They refused.
They were told
to give opinion.
They were told
so now what is the problem?
If you are seen there, never come to this office.
Okay.
Going to sit at the BBI and receiving a khaki envelope, which one do you want first? Of course, where there is something smiling. Thank you.
All right, so there it is. It was a very busy weekend, and of course, and as the two former political force, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga, now turned allies, prepared to receive the much-awaited Building of Bridges Initiative report tomorrow, other leaders for and against the March 9th, 2018 Harambee, handshake are already expressing varied views on the document, and we saw it over the weekend, and I think today also. Maybe some will be very busy, but of course the BBI report will be handed over to the president and the deputy tomorrow, I think at the Bomas of Kenya, according to one of the newspapers here, The Standard. So the Standard here says the big names that BBI will make or break. It names the party leaders. It also names the second-term governors, how this will affect them. If you want to get the details, just go on The Standard and get yourself the details of the BBI. And on the Daily Nation here at the front pages, Uhuru Raila to host a Bomas talks on BBI. Yes, so tomorrow.
Yes.
And they've invited
Wednesday.
On Wednesday. So tomorrow.
Tomorrow the president receives it from the committee.
Okay, good.
Wednesday, yes. All good ties and the suits arrive in Bomas.
Okay.
And then the ball sets. The law. They should make a law that there is a national, 1 week. One of the things that I had suggested in my vision. I wish we had 1 week prayer day week.
1 week?
Yes.
Going to work?
Each year.
Does it become a holiday or it's just...
No, it's 1 week. You can prayer week. All institutions, mosques, churches, all those places, I don't know. I only know All Saints Church where I go. Temples. And then Catholic Church where I usually am forced to go because it is similar. The other churches with guitar, I don't go. Guitar and the drums and the dancing, I don't go. So I wish, and I'm sincere, don't drag me to any guitar playing place. Because God could ban me from there. So, I wish Kenyans looked at this and created a 1 week prayer. We need a lot of prayer for remedy. So that we don't have bishop. This one, Pastor James Nganga, you see, coming up alone, talking about the things that are not godly. Have 1 week. So those people, members of parliament, I want to ask you, please, if you have time, create some week, 1 week in a year. For example, in Britain, starting from December 1st, there will be no belief. There will be no auctioneer coming to your door. Have you seen how they have developed their democracy? Here, auctioneers are going to harass people up to Christmas Day. But in London, auctioneer has a time also to rest. He doesn't come to carry your goods. Because no British national would like to see you stressed during Christmas. They want you to have your kuku or your chicken or your legs of turkey. If you have got some legs, you know, Waluya will eat even the turkey legs. Please, in peace. And this has happened. Look at it. It has followed the whole of Europe. That's why in Europe, essentially, the work ends on the 31st or 30th of November. After 30th of November, my dear sister, people start arranging, where is Mediterranean Sea? Where is this? Where is that? There is no belief who will come on your door. We have to nurture institutions that bring about harmony. That's what BBI is coming. Nature harmony amongst Kenyans. Kenyans are crying out for this harmony. You are very good people. You eat the same food in the same restaurants. You dance together. You enjoy together. You grieve together when there is a national disaster, but you disagree when there is a date of elections. I leave it there. May God help me. And we go to African news. But I just want to say, these are my parting shots, and which I believe my people can take them for the real shots. Tomorrow we receive the BBI report. Those who have been anticipating for this report to come will see it tomorrow. The president will receive it, and the entire country will have a look at the report as starting from Wednesday. The biggest thing that has happened to Kenya is to audit the way we live, the way people live. Most African countries have never audited themselves. That's why there have been wars, conflicts, corruption, and so on and so forth. But for Kenya to have decided to stop at one moment and said, come on, why are we fighting? We are fighting because of elections. We are fighting because of corruption. We are fighting because of lack of patriotism. If BBI can bring out some of these issues, Kenya will be the best country that you can always enjoy and think about in Africa. Of course, there will be people who want to take this matter further than what it is. It was merely a collection of views that will be put to test through institutions that are laid down by the law. And after that, the MPs and the country will decide whether there are some questions that need a referendum or not, or there are things that they need to adjust so as to bring quality of service, development for everybody. A shilling for a person. 1 shilling, 1 person. Just as it is 1 vote, 1 man, 1 vote. And that is what it is. That's why countries like South Africa, they don't have a problem. Whether they have voted which government or whatever government, the services will reach everywhere. They have a shilling for a shilling. If you are 2 million people in place X, you will have that 2 million shillings. That is it. It is there so that people cannot quarrel, because politics is not made in a vacuum. Neither distribution of resources are made in a vacuum. And that's my take.
Very well said. Do we take a break and come back with the African news? Thank you very much.
I am very happy to listen to that smile. I hope I've made some sense. That's my take. My production team bring me the clip which I can post for people to smile.
Very well.
It was well done. Thank you very much. Viewers, let's take a break. And when we come back, Miriam is on fire. Miriam is on fire. And don't forget, tonight at 8 p.m. East African Standard Time, Matsanga, Africa Perspective. And I believe Miriam will compensate me by sitting in this for me, with me. And we enjoy it for 1 hour. And then, ma'am, you can call it a day.
It's okay. I don't have to.
8 p.m. East African Standard Time, Matsanga, Africa Perspective. Pre-BBI report. Omanenos. Anticipated. What do you want? What would you want to see in this report? What are your expectations? Then tomorrow, after it has been handed over, is when we see, is it what you anticipated, what is in here? Because I believe also by tomorrow evening, leakages will be here and there. Then Wednesday, it is a full throttle that everybody will have it online. We shall interrogate it online, understand by you online, disagree. The battle begins tomorrow. And I call upon all those who have supported our legacy, the legacy trend, that we have done wonderful. If you want to read all the articles that are written and produced, just go to the legacy trend. www.thelegacytrend.com. All of those, and tomorrow, then you sit tight tomorrow. If you don't see some of those articles flowing in your mind, then let's have a drink. Let's have a champagne later on in the evening tomorrow.
And some milkshake. So we'll see you after.
Champagne and a milkshake, I've been reminded. In fact, this afternoon I might look for milkshake. It's long since she had that milkshake.
I had it yesterday. Thank you very much.
I was not here.
At home.
Oh, you are greedy. You are selfish.
I take milkshake.
At home.
You take champagne. So these two things cannot exist on the same table. We'll see you with the Africa News Speaking headlines after this short
Thank you
break.
very much, Miriam, for the accommodation. But I hope I've made some sense about vuvuzela politics and the ultrasound politics of listening to the womb. Which child is coming out? Hallelujah! Kenyans change this behavior, mindset. Ya kusema which child is coming around. Wait until the child is dropped. Oh. Let's hear African news. Hey, and don't forget Djibouti is on the stage. It has come back fighting. Didn't I say last week that Djibouti is not a joke? Now it's official, it's here. It has arrived. Someone from New York. I told people, in New York, I receive what I want. So don't tell a lie that we are all right in New York. No, we are not. Not yet. There's kathingi hapo kana umiza. Yes. We wish Ambassador Macharia the best. Work out as a diplomat flat out. Don't listen to these stories of early celebrations. Thank you.
I really thought I could not live away from the busy city, away from the lifestyle, the coffee shops, and the excitement of the city. Once I was at Pana Ranch Nevasha, I felt like all the constant pressure had instantly gone away, and the adventure was about to begin. The grass is always greener, the air sweeter, the views unimaginable, and the experiences unforgettable. It's like a dream driving down, seeing the beautiful lake and just feeling that breathtaking ambience. Feels like an amazing escape from all the pressure, a never-ending vacation. Pana Ranch Nevasha offers a perfect country living home, each on an acre, with elegant house designs, with a blend of fine wood and well-curved stone to fuse with nature. Pana Ranch captured my imagination in ways I never thought possible for a home. The birds high up in the trees and that spectacular skyline. I saw the freedom that was caged and the future that could start now. Pana Ranch Naivasha, a gated community powered by Premier Realty Limited. This land was made for you. Let's explore.
Welcome back. In case you just joined us, this is Good Morning Africa show in conjunction with the Southern Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation. The television station is Punchline Africa TV, coming to you all the way from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. And on the first hour of the show, we were looking at, the politics of vuvuzela. Our politicians have been very busy going about, politicking, and majority of the time they've been talking about the BBI, a report that is meant to be handed over to the president tomorrow, together with the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And so after tomorrow, I think, I don't know if the busy will go to another level or the politics will calm down, but we will see the dynamics of the politics, and after that how the country will go in line with what we've been seeing happening. So we've been talking about this, me and my co-host Dr. David Matanga, but right now I'd like us to just go through quickly the news making headlines in Africa, and then we will look at that in depth later on shortly. So we start with the Democratic Republic of Congo, where at least 27 people have died after a passenger plane crashed into houses in the city of Goma in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, local officials have confirmed. Sources said the plane experienced engine failure right after takeoff. And we go to Egypt, where the office of Egypt's last major independent media outlet has been raided by plainclothes security officers, its editor has confirmed. And we go to the East African community, where the 6 East Africa community heads of state are set to miss the trading bloc's 20th anniversary celebrations this coming Saturday, putting into question the level of unity at the regional body's topmost decision-making organ. Sorry, they missed that. All right, fine. The November 30th Head of States Summit, which was planned to coincide with the East African's 20th birthday, was called off after the last minute in unclear circumstances. Rwandan President Paul Kagame, in his capacity as the current chairperson of the summit on Tuesday, sent out a letter indicating that the meeting had been pushed in between January and February next year. The summit was expected to resolve contentious issues that threaten the unity of the economic bloc. And we move to Ethiopia, where Ethiopia's Sudan people have voted overwhelmingly to form their own self-governing region, as many of the country's ethnic groups demand greater autonomy under sweeping reforms led by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The country's electoral board said on Saturday that provisional results showed 98.5% of the voters had backed the change in Wednesday's ballot, with turnout that reached up to 99.7%. We go to Zimbabwe, where Zimbabwean Vice President Constantino Chiwenga returned home on Saturday after spending 4 months in China receiving medical treatment for a known illness, a state-owned media have confirmed. And we go to Tanzania, where and we go to Guinea-Bissau, and after weeks of political turmoil, violent protest, and alleged coup attempt, and the emergence of 2 competing prime ministers, Guinea-Bissau is held a presidential election on Sunday, that is the 24th of November, that many hoped will usher in a semblance of calm. The vote pitted President Jose Mario Vaz against old rival and former Prime Minister Domingos Simoes Pereira and 10 other candidates seeking to draw a line under 5 years of turbulence and a verse characterized by high level of sackings and barely functioning parliament. And we go to South Sudan, where the United Nations Security Council has threatened to impose sanctions on those derailing the ongoing peace process in South Sudan. At the eve of the latest extension, the government and other political parties had insisted on the formation of the transitional government of the national unity by November 12, but the main opposition leader pushed for more time. As a result, the parties at a meeting hosted by Ugandan President in Entebbe agreed to extend the pre-transitional period by 100 more days. And we go to Nigeria, where the founder of a major airline in Nigeria has been charged with bank fraud and money laundering for the allegedly moving more than $20 million from foreign sources from American bank accounts and using it in part to pay for his living expenses, luxurious cars and high-end shopping. That is according to the United States officials and federal court documents in the United States. And we end with Cameroon, where the Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute, has stressed the need for a peace to return for the two crisis-hit English regions of the country for the recommendation of the major national dialogue to be implemented. Speaking a couple of days ago, the Prime Minister disclosed that it is only in a context of peace that the recommendation of the major national dialogue will be better implemented for the effective change. Thank you very much. That is the latest from Africa this morning. Doctor, let's just start with this news from Anglophone there, and the Prime Minister has now, they've started, going out to especially the Anglophone part and trying to sell this, the results of the so-called national dialogue. So apparently Paul Biya thought this dialogue was very successful. So now they're saying they're wanting the Anglophones to accept, some of these points made during the national dialogue. But we also seen the United States yesterday. We were talking here, come out and say the government of Paul Biya should have a real national dialogue, not a mock of a dialogue that happened in September. So by the government of Paul Biya, ignoring that call and just going ahead and trying to sell these points that were made in the national dialogue, is Mr. Paul Biya really ready for change?
You see, thank you very much, Miriam, for bringing me back again. I was missing in action, and thank you very much, all of you who have watched us in our first, section where we talked mainly about Kenya. First, there is no dialogue in Cameroon. Cameroon is a lost part, is walking dead. Is walking while dead. The country is like the president himself. The president falls in the stairs of Elysee Palace, going to meet his colonizers who have actually made him sick to this level, because they have taken all the taxes to France. Now he's going there, he falls at the steps as he was being welcomed. That's a very bad sign. You are walking while you are dead. Go back to the drawing table, bring real democracy, real dialogue, extended dialogue that can be brought, that can usher in a new angle of hope, a new angle of determination, a new angle of forgiveness, reconciliation, not the type of democracy that is being spread by the Prime Minister of Ambazonia. Look at the Ambazonian people. Ambazonians are in the trees. They are living in the trees. They live like animals. Their children for 4 years have never seen school. Dispensaries are not functioning. Disease is killing them. Food is not available. They are in the tropics of Africa. And we Africans are sitting in here, in our comfort, in our flights, in our planes, in our parliaments. We are not condemning this action. It is sad to be African and to be born African, but that is what it is for us.
All right, yes, indeed. It's a very sad situation there in Cameroon, and for the government, Prime Minister to go out there, he is the head of government, and to go out there and try to, convince the Ambazonians to accept some of these points that were made. I think the 8 points that were made during the national dialogue, where some of the things that really Ambazonians would have wanted to see addressed was never even mentioned in that meeting. I think this is hypocritical, and I don't think Anglophones will even receive. I don't know if they'll even be ready to work with the government on this. And so also there, Doctor, I mentioned South Sudan, and now the United Nations Security Council is threatening to impose sanctions on those derailing the ongoing peace process in South Sudan. Will they start with the president and his deputy, Riek Machar, or who are they now planning to?
Africa doesn't listen. Mm-hmm. By now you should have known that I've been on this television station. You know, our station talks about security in the region. We are more security-oriented station. We want to educate people on the security of this region, how we relate to our customers, our neighbors. The problem of South Sudan is the problem of Kenya. The problem that South Sudan will have is Kenya will have it. An overflow of refugees from South Sudan into this country brings a problem on the economy of this state. Therefore, you can't discuss Africa, and you can't have television stations and radio stations in Kenya bringing an American soap opera or Mexico soap opera without looking at the problems at the borders. There is a report now that Ethiopia is meddling in the affairs of Jubaland, where the KDF soldiers are. This is something that we cannot keep quiet about. We must warn Dr. Abe that don't start this, because we know what they want to do, what they want to achieve, who called them there to achieve. They want to kill KDF. They want to kill Kenyans. They want to start a war. And the opposition leaders in Somalia are saying, quit now. They are saying, if any other troops that were not called under the mandate of UNISOM, like Ethiopian troops that have been sent and bypassed all Balidoa, and they came all the way to Jubaland to cause mayhem, should leave. So we have a problem here.
And that is what the Somali president wanted. He wanted that Ethiopian soldiers together with Eritrea bypass AMISOM agreement so that only those two countries' soldiers are allowed in certain areas in Jubaland. That is what actually the president of Somalia wanted.
And I told you here,
it's a conspiracy.
That if we are not careful, if Kenya is not careful, it will find itself one day in the morning that it was sleeping with an enemy.
It appears so, right?
An enemy called Farimajo. I told you, I have been saying here, and some people, they claim to know international intelligence and so on, but this thing is very bad. Look at what is going on. If Somalia invites Ethiopia, special and under outside the AU mandate, they are violating the AU AMISOM mandate. They just want a fight with the leaders of Jubaland. And therefore, Ethiopian troop time is coming when Ethiopian troops are going to hammer each other with KDF.
Possible.
Very soon. If we don't wake up and open our eyes, now we are in trouble.
And speaking about Ethiopia and all these sweeping reforms that Abiy Ahmed brought into power and became prime minister, now we see a lot of ethnic groups are demanding for greater autonomy. And over the weekend,
but that was the purpose of him being brought there.
The Sidama people.
Did you know that? The purpose of him being brought there is the disintegration of Ethiopia.
But will this work against him in the long run?
It doesn't work against him. He has been longing to disintegrate Ethiopia. You didn't know.
Because this is something the Sidama people have been wanting for a very long time. And now
he has been wanting to disintegrate. Imperialists don't give you a Nobel Prize if you are not doing what they failed to do. And I want you today to learn that, my daughter.
So that was a reward.
Yes.
For a work well done.
Imperialists will never award you. Have they awarded Matanga? They will never award you in Africa if you have not done what they want you to do. Mandela was given a Nobel Prize to share with de Klerk because he accepted de Klerk.
To share with de Klerk.
Yes, you remember.
That's a slap. Yes, that is a slap on all the heroes that fought to
that
apartheid.
The man who was called a terrorist
receives a Nobel Prize.
Received a Nobel Prize, but he should not receive it wholesome. Carry it home. Let him share with the tormentor who actually made him sleep naked in the jail.
For 27 good years.
For 27 years. Listen to that, Africans. You people think I don't have the brain, but I have told you I am with it. If life continues, I'm going to have another master's degree, the third one. Because already that one, the other one, I have the title. I don't need it. You know? I am telling you today, and let people listen to me. There is no way they will award Kenyatta a Nobel Prize. Because Kenyatta opposes some of the things they say. They can't award that Museveni there. They can't, that one they can't even give.
That cannot even, the name cannot.
So what they have done with President Museveni is to start by cutting off Kaihura, cut off 2,000 guys, Ugandans, cut off their foreign minister, that he was involved in some time, you know, bribery. They start with you like that. You know, when they have used you so long, and you remember, there are people who don't know politics, and you are younger people. A man like Savimbi, Mr. Savimbi was the most lovable man by the West. He was given even the highest protection, better than President Nixon, or better than President Ford or whatever. No, not Ford, this other one, who is still alive. The Ford Foundation, yes, Ford. The Ford Foundation that sponsors also is a good Democratic Carter.
Jimmy
yes,
Carter.
Jimmy Carter. They cannot give you protection of that nature for nothing. You must be delivering something. Now, the problem with Dr. Abiy of Ethiopia is he thinks this is a very big occasion. But they wanted him to dismember Ethiopia. That's all. Why is it my comrade, I, Zenawi, Afaki, Damba Nambako, Dr. Damba Nambako, today I said I will speak about it. We are in the same office in London. And Afaki, wherever you are in Asmara, you know this face. At times you used to send me for your lunch, and I come with it. Then you ask me, did you get it from the pub? If it's from the pub, then now it doesn't. Afaki does not eat. So, look at what they did. Afaki does not eat. Zenawi blocked Mr. Afaki, closed the border. Because Zenawi was a man. You know, Zenawi is a statesman.
He was a statesman. Very
good. No, forget being the prime minister of Ethiopia. You sit with him in the office, you can see a statesman. This other one, Afaki, could sit at times thinking like this. Yeah? When we go for meetings for African relief organizations, his contribution is very different from us. Then me, I started saying, this guy one day will be very deadly. So, Dr. Abe should have asked us, he's a very young person, should have asked us, do you really know Afaki very well? That place of Ethiopia, I swear, is going to be divided.
Well, it has started.
He's a very well-organized man. Did you read a report a few months ago that even the border crossing is dangerous?
It is.
People crossing from Ethiopia going to see their relatives, they are arrested. Afaki, Isaias is deadly. He's my friend. He knows me from 1990, 89, 90. We worked together in Uganda and the Ethiopian relief organizations. He's a deadly man. And you wait. Ethiopia is going to bring us another big problem, more than South Sudan. And this is for free. Ethiopian diplomats, if you are around here, take the notes and try to talk to me. I will tell you, not for free. This time I've refused.
So this autonomous region, one day might start asking to have their own country.
Of course. Of course. You have asked a direct question and a direct answer.
Because very interesting, the Sidama people, they only account for 4% of Ethiopia's population.
Yes.
4%, not even 10.
So if you
4%.
start giving some autonomous states
to the bigger tribes,
how will you hold with its army? And then you have a friend in the west, in the east, who is infiltrating you. And you rely on his port, Asmara, for exports. You are finished.
And that's why Ethiopia has been fighting to get the Somali, port. Because
yes.
it will benefit like that.
Man, I analyze straight. Kama unataka, unanipenda, nipendi. Kama usipendi, that's it. I have analyzed. If someone says I'm wrong, I'm telling you, the war in Somalia is going to pit KDF with Ethiopia. And you'll see it. They will turn on each other.
KDF, Ethiopia, and Eritrea. Because
yes, they are there. And that is the security deal that has been going behind the Nairobi authorities. Yes, you must open up your tanks, think tank, and think positively.
All right, and there seems to be problem brewing in the East African community, and 6 East African community heads of state are set to miss the trading bloc's 20th anniversary celebrations this coming Saturday, putting into question the level of unity at the regional's body topmost decision-making organ. So the East African community was supposed to be celebrating 20 years of existence this coming Saturday, and this was supposed to be integrated with another meeting of heads of state that was meant to be happening, but apparently this has been called off because Tanzania asked that the date be pushed. Apparently, it will be having its local elections, and I don't know why that would affect the activities of East African community. But also Burundi also was not very comfortable with this meeting
with
happening.
The venue.
But will that the 20th celebrations of the East African, or maybe they see there's nothing to celebrate? Is that why they do not want to go there? But a country like Kenya was caught off guard from a representative in the East African community, and they said it was not even communicated. The land, the cancellation, and even the meeting, no explanations was given. So I think Kenya is not very comfortable because Kenya was ready to have that meeting, I think, together with Uganda and other countries. So I really don't know what is happening in the East African community. Shed some light.
My silence
says a lot.
Says a lot. And I want to thank everybody. Would I don't want to mesh. You know what? There is one thing that I learned about the East African community. Is when we took Amina Mohammed for the post of AU. I'm telling you now, when Amina Mohammed was going for the post of AU, is the time I knew that we don't have East African community. Guess what? I was in a toilet in AU. I went for short call. I was in one of the cubicles. Luckily enough, I had a red card which allows you to go to the toilets where presidents go. But what I heard from the president of one of East African community brought me shivers. And I don't want to speak about it again. I kept quiet. I went outside. I sat down. I called the Kenya Mandarins, those who were handling this election. You know, people started there saying they have come, even some of them cried crocodile tears. I told them, you know what? We have lost this seat. Because some African leaders are not sincere. So, can we jump to another topic? I will tell you off camera. I was also susu. Nilikuwa nafanya susu kwa toilet. So for me, for this African leader to see me, that I've heard what he was saying, I also opened the door. At the same time, then the foreign minister said, but I kept quiet. That is the day that I knew that we don't have East African community.
All right, then. So the next summit will be pushed between January and February. So let's just see how that will pan out for the East African community. It's very interesting there. Mr. Paul Kagame has a lot of on his shoulders right now with all these member states fighting and all that. I think that's why the meeting would have been necessary. But you know what? Let's just leave that there.
Is he the current chairperson?
He is.
So how is the chairperson who has blocked our trucks from coming to Uganda going to
unite the rest of the states? That's a very good question. That's a very good question.
I leave it to God.
The same way the current country where we have our AU, a chairperson has now closed down the last remaining independent media house in Egypt. The last remaining independent. This is our chairperson for the African Union.
There you are. The answer is the same.
And Doctor, sorry I'm cutting you. When I was reading this story and preparing it this morning, I thought if this was Zimbabwe, that this would have happened. Tell me about the repercussions.
And the
sanctions
whole world will come on Mnangagwa.
But the US have been very quiet, and the rest of Europe and the
because
rest of...
they are members of regime change. The United States of America is a regime change. Is a member state of the regime change.
Oh, would that have been even here in Kenya?
Yes.
They would have, if there have been...
They are here. Look, in Kenya, in Mombasa, and we should not take this lightly. The people here, when I talk in Kenya here, they come and they say, Matanga, Matanga, Aya, Matanga. There is one man that I'm going to expose here. One very soon. Anafikiri mimi niko na miaka yake. Very soon, ngoja. When I tell people the truth, they don't listen. There is something wrong in Mombasa. You saw this morning, yesterday over the weekend, people ramping. Daytime, they started cutting people. The regime change of George Soros has planted something wrong there. And we are now watching it grow. If we don't move in the style of Saboti land forces, sweep whoever stands on the way. Munipatia mimi commandership niende. Sweep whoever stands on the way. This Mashati Matiang, he said, the minister Matiang, please wake up, Jamen, Wagwan.
In fact, you're very right. There has been an increase of those young youth. They're terrorizing residents in Mombasa.
They will go away in Indian Ocean. That's the good thing. A few days ago, last Monday, I had my professors. You know, there is a desk in Nation TV which is for only professor, doctor, starting from Professor Damba, Professor Peter Kagwanja, Professor Hanyije, Professor somebody, doctor, and then the AU former chairperson, who is also a doctor. All of them. They were discussing the insecurity in Kenya. And these are people who teach. And they did not do one thing on that day. And the professors, if you are hearing me, I'm now coaching you. Because some of these people have a lot of knowledge and they forget some things. That's why there is a stage of a doctor who can carry your bag. Now I am carrying the bag of Professor Damba. Is it Professor? Yes. Damba and the Professor Kagwanja and the Dr. Hanyije. Just use, and Hassan, Doctor, there is another one, the Browner. Just use the Uganda example. Why do you battle? They battled with so many words. So many words. Battled with so many words. There was no need. Just use the Ugandan example of Karamoja. Museveni stood and said, enough is enough. Period. Mutu could cross this line, we are done. You cross here, you go back to your Manyatta when you have told me where the guns are. Children came and said, uncle, come. Here. The machine comes to do woo. The signal is here. Metal. The tractor, the grader comes to dig. Woo. They are there. That clear the compound. Machine goes. That's what Museveni has done in Karamoja. And that's why I give Museveni credit. I swear. The other people don't like me, those in opposition, because I say the truth. Because I'm an academic, I'm an intellectual. I can't say he has done nothing wrong. Everything right. He has done some things that are not. But this one, President Museveni got it right. Karamojongs wear clothes. Now they don't walk naked. They don't disturb us for food. They don't steal our animals. Because they used to come to my district and steal our animals. They now produce food and send it to us to eat. Thank you very much. And I saw all these professors seated on that. They were talking about, there was this revolution in Europe. Any TV, there's a small boy called Balal. Is it Balal? Dibal. Oh.
I know.
Dibal, very good friend. I have never talked to him though. He can't, because Dibalo cannot invite me to such a show. I will make him not have his words properly. Yeah? No, because I will state facts. None of the professors, none of the guys said, what about Uganda? They were quoting Europe. And they were quoting South Africa. They quoted South Africa.
What about South Africa?
That violence and that this was this, they can be. The example was across. Where West Pokot governor drinks his beer peacefully. Then as he crosses into Kenya, orders for 0.14 armored Muzinga to escort him to his house. The same to Nanok.
Because of the insecurity in that
yes.
area.
Thank you.
Very unfortunate. So I think we're done because our time is up. So we thank our viewers, and then we have the evening show, Matanga Africa Perspective, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. But for now, we thank you so much for your company, and we thank you so much for engaging with us. Oko Ajake, OK Hope, who else? Chooks, Sydney, Gabriel Abrami, Roderick Michelle. You're saying, hi, my brother. Just know that I love you so very much. Even put there a heart, emoji there. Samuel Chaga is saying Kenyatta is fighting.
Why are you laughing?
Samuel Chaga is saying Kenyatta is fighting a very hard battle. Our leaders are not patriots, because I know you don't like people saying other men saying that you have a problem. I think he loves what you're doing for Africa, so that is what he must have meant. And John Vojo, thank you so much, and all of you, thank you so much for your company today. So we see you here in the evening, 8 p.m. East African time, for a pre-BBI analysis, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Miriam.